Drink it in, drink it in, drink it in, man.
It is picked up by the Lions. Coming back right side, 25. Picks up a block at the 30. It's at the 40.
Drink it in, drink it in. Drink it in, drink it in, drink it in, man.
Rolls to the right. Stafford throws deep. Got a man out there. Enzo. Caught. Touchdown, Detroit Lions. Stafford!
Drink it in, drink it in.
Touchdown, Detroit Lions! Cornbread.
Drink it in, drink it in, drink it in, man.
Detroit Koolaid drinkers, what is going on? It is a Wednesday. We are here talking all things Detroit Lions and drinking up some Honolulu Blue. You know how we do.
Drink it in, man.
Absolutely. And I'm just excited. We got another big show. I mean, we are close to free agency. We're going to dive into it. We're going to talk about approach, where the Lions are at with their money, maybe some free agents versus some draft positions where they want to look. I want to throw some names at you. We got so much to do. But before we do that, I got to introduce Aaron is back on the show. He had his debut show a few weeks ago, basically the show after Matt Stafford was traded, basically the biggest show ever here on the Detroit Koolaid Cast, and he's back to talk Lions this week, so I'm excited to have him. Aaron, how you doing this week?
I am good, man. Happy to be back. Surprised you brought me back on after the Dwayne Haskins and yeah, the little slip up. Thanks to Arthur for catching that on Twitter. Appreciate that, man. Shout out to Arthur.
You got to shout out Arthur. That's hard to say right in a row. And like you say, hey, man, it was your rookie debut. You made a few mistakes, but hey, you made me laugh. We got into it a little bit. I had to call you out on a couple things. That's kind of what I do on the show. So, I mean, you've heard me say this before here on the show, Aaron. We don't have time to mess around. There's too much to talk about. So let's dive right into it. And I thought I'd hit you with something right off the get-go that I didn't tell you about. We haven't talked about, but I got breaking news here on the show. I got big news. Are you ready for this?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Hit me with it. You're throwing me off, but all right, let's do it.
This is big breaking news here on the Koolaid Cast about Kenny Golladay.
Oh, what do you got for me?
I mean, this is big free agent news about Mr. Golladay. Do you want me to just get to it or what?
Yeah, I haven't been following anything today. I've been busy all day. So if you've got Golladay news, please smack me in the face with it.
Man, I cannot wait to do so. So Aaron, I'm here to tell you that I have it on good authority that Kenny Golladay will be a free agent in 2021 in our fantasy football league, because I am here to say that I am nominating Kenny Golladay in our fantasy football league as a free agent in our free agent auction. And I'm taking out the scrub that is known as Tevin Coleman. Breaking news here on the show, and I throw everybody for an okie doke right off the top. We don't know if Kenny's getting franchised, if he's going to be a free agent. But in our ESPN league that you brag about all the time, he will be a free agent. So there you go. There's my pick right off the bat.
So you're just going to break my heart and then make my day all at the same time. And you just threw off my entire strategy going into that draft, by the way.
Exactly. I thought you'd like that. So if everybody, which I'm sure you guys don't know, but you've heard us talk fantasy football here on the show, we're in the process of getting ready for our free agent auction. And today was my day to sub out a guy or add a guy. And I was like, let me wait till the show. Let me do this live on the show. And let me mix it up with Kenny for the Detroit Koolaid Cast. So Kenny will now be in the auction. We'll be able to bid on him. We'll see if he ends up on my team, which is aptly named Detroit Koolaid, or will he be on AB Couch Coach, who came in amazing second place last year, which was the number one undisputed losing spot. I mean, pretty fired up to come in second, aren't you?
Hey, you know, second is a lot better than where you finished. I'm just going to throw that out there. I've heard you blame injuries several times. That's all cute and everything. And we know it wasn't injuries. We just know I just smacked you around. It wouldn't have mattered whether your full squad was there or not.
All right, well, we'll see what happens at 21. We'll see if Kenny ends up on either of our teams. And I just thought that'd be fun to do off the top. So that was my little gimmick here off the top. There's no breaking news yet about Kenny on the Detroit Lions, but it should be coming soon in regards to will they tag him? Will they just let him walk into free agency? We'll probably get into that here either on this show or shows coming up. But Aaron, let's get down to real business right now. So what I wanted to ask you about is, let's say you're the GM of the Detroit Lions. You're heading into free agency. You don't have a ton of money to spend. You're a first-time GM. You got a first-time head coach. The roster, here you go, Matt Derry from Locked On Lions, is a tire fire. I mean, this is a rough roster. What's your general approach? I don't want to talk players yet. I don't want to talk money necessarily. I want to talk about what's your approach heading into March 17th, less than 2 weeks away.
Ooh, well, I think the most important thing that they need to do is they got to back the garbage truck up is the primary thing. They really got to get a lot of that nasty cap. We got to get some cap space because we don't have a lot of cap space. We got to back that garbage truck up, start tossing people in there, and actually make some room to be able to make some kind of legitimate moves. I'm not expecting, and I personally wouldn't make any big name signings just yet. I don't think this year is the year for that. So I think I would hold out on those for next year, but I think I would bring in a lot of potential. You know what I mean? Like a lot of lower salary, prove it year deals, and then kind of go from there. I don't think it's the year where we want to go signing any big scale contracts, bringing in big name players and winding up in the same terrible cap space or situation we're in right now.
Yeah, interesting. Now, I got to call you out, which I think I did a few weeks ago, and I'll continue to do when you come here on the show. But you used the dumpster gimmick last time, and we had fun with that. I mean, is this going to be a go-to for you here on the show?
For the Lions after Matt Patricia was here, absolutely, because it's not necessarily a gimmick. It's kind of an awful truth at this point. It needs to happen.
I'm with you, but I was looking over the roster. Obviously, I've defended this roster in the past. I still think there's some players that needed new coaching, need a new vibe, new swagger. I think there's still some guys worth saving, but I agreed with you that before, and I agree now. There's definitely some cuts that need to be made. There's also that sense, like you said, to sort of wait and see. Don't need to dive in and get anybody too big. We'll get into that as we get through the show. But you brought me to the whole kind of that. Who do we cut? Who do we not? Money factor. So let's get into that right now. I'm on Spot Track right now, and the Lions, I mean, gosh, $19 million dead cap with Matt Stafford moving on. You got the big Jared Goff number here at the top of the screen. Based on the $180 million, the Lions really don't have, a ton of money, if any. I've heard it floated, $6 million, 10, 14 million is kind of where they're at. Like, really what I'm seeing here is they're, at sea level or a little below with not much to go on, but we can change that with some cuts. So rather than get into their current situation, let's just say they don't have barely, if any, money to spend right this second. But what I thought I'd do is put you to the test and again put you in the GM seat, and let's start cutting some fools and see what kind of money we can save. So this roster upside down and sideways. Let's start cutting some players. Give me a name, we'll cut them, and let's see what we can save here on our cap.
No, we're going to have some money, Derek. We're going to have some serious money left over. All right. First name right off the top, Desmond Trufant. Bye.
Oh yeah.
Bye. Get him out of here.
True is gone. It's true. But I heard, Dan Campbell and Holmes step to the podium, and what they said about Trufant seemed like, yeah, they can move on money-wise, but if they think that he can help the young pups, I could see him staying another year. But you just saved $6.2 million letting go of Desmond Trufant. So that was a good chuck in the dumpster by you. Saves us some dough. Who else we got? Let's just move down this roster. Let's trim it up a little bit.
Well, let's just stick right to defense here. Justin Coleman, bye.
All right, we're going to get rid of Justin Coleman, that slot corner that Bob Quinn paid over $9 million that I thought would be a good move, and he's come and he's been very hit or miss, a lot more miss than I would like, but sometimes his numbers are halfway decent. That would be a $4.9 million savings there, letting go of Justin Coleman.
No. See, you got to be rude about it. See, you're being very nice about it. I'm going to be rude about it. I'm going to wait and cut this dude after June 1st, so he has a hard time finding another team. And I'm going to save $9 million is what I'm going to do, because NFL is a cutthroat game. It is what it is. Sorry. You can wait. You're lying. You're excited until June 1st. Then bye. You're gone.
He's a $9 million savings after June 1. I don't have that up in front of me.
Yep. $9 million after June 1st.
Nice, yeah. Let him sit there. Hell, what do I care?
Exactly.
We'll see. We're trying to save some pennies. So, like I said, I'm talking about cutting right now before we get to March 17th. Who else are we putting off this team, or who are you considering as GM of the Lions?
Oh, so you want immediate cuts? See, I've been being methodically evil about this whole thing, doing my Dr. Evil laugh and letting people go after June 1st. But if you want somebody else to cut, before June 1st, I'm going to go with Nick Williams. Bye.
Nick Williams. We'll see you.
Everybody's in.
I got that laugh too, which is always my personal favorite. Let's see. Let's get rid of Nick Williams here, where I'm at here on the sheet. I think that's going to save us around $5 million. Let's see what comes up. Nick Williams is going to 4.7. Yep. We'll see you later. Thanks for coming. Who else?
Rather you didn't come, but thanks anyways.
You got to have somebody play football. Come on, AB Couch Coach.
No, we don't. We'll start over. We can get a couple of kids from Pee Wee football and throw them out there. It's all good.
All right.
So this is going to be another. I have to throw this name out there, Derek. I know it's going to break your heart. It's just you're going to be destroyed by this one. I know you've loved this guy. We've been back and forth about it on Twitter, and I'm going to go post June 1st on him. But Jesse James, you're not an outlaw at all. You're just a turd. Get out of here.
Oh man, that is a tough one for me. I mean, all these shows where I come on and sing his praises and go on and on about how fast and athletic the guy is, or maybe I come on here every week and call him a big hot pile of steaming garbage and one of the worst signings of all time. That, like I said, I readily agree. When they first signed him, I tried to drink some Kool-Aid, as I often do, and say, no, he's a young tight end. He's 6'6". I mean, maybe he'll be good. Yeah, he was not good. He was the absolute opposite of good. I mean, God, I probably have 8 million sound bites for him, but this one would probably be one of the better ones.
For me to poop on.
We'll see you, Jesse James, you piece of crap. Literally with that sound drop. Who else we got? Let's keep this moving.
All right, so let's. I got to throw Danny Shelton under the bus too. Bye.
Shelton, young dude. He came in here, good attitude, played decent football, but he's going to save us $4 million. Getting rid of him right now. I think he's got to go. We're not trying to play big nose, 330 some pound. Trying to get some penetration, some pass rush, please. So yeah, I agree. He's got to go too.
Yeah, we can't have these guys that want to stop at the taco stand on the way to the quarterback. We gotta get a little speed on this team.
No doubt. Who else we cutting?
Christian Jones out of here, but also again post June 1st, because that's a 3.7 million cap savings. I don't know what they were doing with that extension. Dude doesn't really do anything. I mean, it was kind of pathetic to see the Twitter feed come across and say the Lions gave him an extension. Bye, you're gone.
I like you bringing the knowledge. I like you with these numbers you got in front of you. I mean, again, Christian Jones fit the mold of every other linebacker that Matt, Pat, and Bob Quinn tried to bring in, which, again, back in the day, I thought, stopping the run. They like these big guys. I did find out slow as molasses. I mean, make the simple play, but never can make the splash play. So, I mean, basically all these guys that we've cut so far, I mean, if I was the coach of the GM, I'd probably say this to a lot of these guys.
I pity myself that I got to be with these fools.
Thank you, Mr. T. I do in the past, but not moving forward, because we're getting rid of these guys. We're cleaning house here. Let's get a few more names in here. I know we got more things to cut. Let's go a little rapid fire. Who else we get? Are we getting rid of any offensive players or no?
Oh yeah, okay. Let's start with Chase Daniel. Bye. What are you doing? What are you doing here? I don't understand what he's doing here, and why we gave him a decent sized contract to be here. We could have picked up Connor Cook.
Oh, get out of here.
We could have given somebody a food truck for Connor Cook, and instead we're gonna pay Chase Daniel over $3 million a year to play football.
That was Matt Stafford's boy, man. They were going to have this kumbaya in the old quarterback room, and we're just going to, be buddies, and somehow that was going to help the football team. We saw how that worked out. Here's what I don't understand. So we're cutting all these people. We're talking about all this savings that we're getting, 2.3 there for Chase Daniel, booting him off the team. Like, what I don't understand is, like, as I'm cutting these, we're making Jesse James go from 6.4 to 4.2. So we're paying all these guys money to just go away. Like, I'm never a big fan of that unless it's just, as we've stated with some of these guys, they just straight up can't play. I think sometimes the NFL gets a little crazy with their money where they're just sort of like, oh, this saves this much. Like, but how much are you still paying him because you signed him for 4 more years? That money's got to go somewhere. You don't get 100% refund. This isn't get out of jail free and monopoly with some of these guys.
Exactly. And that's where I wish that they'd kind of just step up and look at it from more of an accounting standpoint and just be like, okay, well, that's dead money. It's sunk costs. It's never going to come back regardless. So it is what it is. I mean, I don't like the way that the Lions feel obligated to hang on to players just because that they've got, future dead money because of it. I mean, move on. He sucks. You're taking up a roster spot for somebody that's actually going to play the game.
That's what they're going to have to do is sort of balance between, money savings, still having to put a roster out there, warm bodies, but also, hey, we'll just cut this guy. We'll eat the money because we can go put a better guy in for cheaper that will actually make plays. So with all that being said, can we just get to Jamie Collins already and just cut him? I'm done with it. I've heard a bunch of people, oh, he's pretty good. We like him. He's not that horrible. We'll keep him. Like, he isn't even going to save us any money. I just want him off the team.
Yeah, it's exactly like you said. Basically, if they wait until after June 1st, it's $2 million in savings, but he's still got to go. I mean, sure, $9.3 million in dead money, whatever. At least we're going to put a body out there that can actually play football because this guy can't, clearly.
The only reason, like I said, I just press to get rid of him, and like it's gonna be a minus $300K at this point, so it's not a savings of any sort. Like, my thing is, I could guess he could stay because we're in this state of just rebuilding the roster and whatnot, but like I say, if you were able to get a good quality linebacker, I don't want him learning under Jamie Collins, which is an athletic guy who showed me last year that he's just going through the motions. Sometimes he'll make a play. Most of the time he won't. That's what I'm talking about cleaning up the roster. Because, hey, Jamie Collins, I got a special guest here that wants to say a little something to you. His name is Herm Edwards. Hey, Jamie Collins, listen up, man.
Hello? You play to win the game. You don't play to just play it. That's the great thing about sports. You play to win.
Thank you, Herm. And we play to win. There was not a down where I thought Jamie Collins was doing everything he could to win games for the Detroit Lions. He was putting it all on the line. I don't know how many times I had to watch the guy run 40% speed across the middle while guys are just running wide open in front of him. So that's one of those, like you said, money or otherwise. Like, I'm just ready to get rid of him. Any other big ones? I mean, I've got a few others that we can talk about, but any other big, this guy's got to go on the tip of your tongue there?
I got one. And do you remember back when we brought in Amir Abdullah in the draft and everybody's all excited, like, oh, this guy's legit. And then after a couple of years, he's gone.
Oh, yeah.
And then I thought, oh, Kerryon Johnson, our answer. No, bye. You're gone too. Keep watching Game of Thrones and playing video games and talking about that on Twitter instead of talking about how you can't run a football and you can't stay healthy. You're a blocking running back. Get out of here. You're gone.
You're just bringing the heat today, Aaron. I'm right there with you. I think I've said it on a previous show. I was a big supporter of Kerryon. He passed my eye test early, but in the last 2 to 3 years, especially the last year or two, the guy's totally failed the I love football test. I'm an actual gritty, grimy player. He's just a guy going through the motions, a guy that wants to just say goofy stuff online. He wants to be the media darling. And like you said, how about you run and get us a couple first downs? How about you hang on to the football on screen passes? How about you not fumble on the 1 yard line against the Kansas City Chiefs and cost us football games? How about that? And here's another thought. How about you either take that knee brace off or leave it on and go find another occupation? I mean, this guy, I'm right with you. I can go find anybody else that can run the football I think is going to give me more than carry on. And everybody out there listening, don't give me the best pass protecting guy in the league. You don't think I could find another back of any sort that can pass block? I mean, if he could do other things, I would throw that in there. But when he's just a basic, extra blocker, I mean, yeah, that's not worth it to me. Not at all. And like I said, we're not even saving much. He's 1.3, doesn't make much money, but it's just one of those guys we've seen enough. We had enough.
Yeah, and also it's one of those things where, and I know you're not like a huge advocate for stats and all that and past stats, but I got a past stat that I think you're going to like. So last year, Carry-On actually had more runs to Chick-fil-A than he did runs in a football game. So that's coming from that's just about as good as a PFF stat. That's just as reliable. We can document that as truth right now. That is what has happened. I mean, gosh, that sounds about right to me. It's all he talks about. It's either Game of Thrones, Twitter, or it's on Twitter. It's either Game of Thrones, Chick-fil-A, or video games.
Exactly.
No, dude, if you're going to play a video game, go play Madden. I'm not saying that football players need to stick just to football, especially in the off season. But when you're getting kicked around and you're constantly injured and you can't run a football, don't say anything to me other than football because I'm sick of you.
But let's get two things out of the way. He has a hot girlfriend who is now pregnant. Good luck to them with the kid. We'll give him that. And Chick-fil-A is straight up legit. I mean, I don't know if you've had the chicken sandwich or if you've made a visit or two, but I mean, it is straight up money in the bank.
Never tried it. There's not one anywhere near me.
Oh, my goodness.
On top of it all, I'm jealous of his Chick-fil-A trips. So therefore he's got to go just because of that. Just because I'm jealous he's had it and I haven't.
You're jealous of his Chick-fil-A or his chick or both, because you can make a run to Grand Rapids for the chicken sandwich. The other part, probably not so much. So.
Yeah, no, just the sandwich. My chick's cooler. My wife's cooler. I'm almost positive.
Happily marry the man here, talking to the bachelor here on the other end of the line. But yeah, like you say, Carry-On's got to go as well. So we made some cuts. You've up to this point saved them 24 in cap space, just with what I'm looking at, and without the June ones, 28 total in cap space. Aaron, I did this exercise earlier. I got rid of the guys we've talked about, plus let's see who else I had on here. Joe Dahl, Geronimo Allison, Carry-On had to go, Bawden had to go, Victor Bolden had to go, some of these other no-names, Russell Bodine, John Atkins, who sat out last year, Tommy Kennedy can go back and play lacrosse, David Blau, I've seen enough. So I got him up to 33 in cap space, total savings of 37 with some of the cuts I made. And like I say, I played that little bit of game where, yeah, there's other people I want off the team, but when I kind of clicked their cut ability, it either made more sense to keep them on based on the low salary they made or the low savings I was going to get. So, tried to make some of those decisions right there. So I think I got it down to, I got it down to 35 active contracts. So, could obviously trim up some of those guys at the bottom as well, but wanted to leave me right around that 35 mark so they can sprinkle free agents. The draft picks, you're going to have at least, 6 at this point. We're probably looking at, 8 or more is what I would hope for when it's all said and done. But I think we did good there with the cat. We kind of got the Lions all straightened out because, like I said, none to start with, but easily created some space based on the nice cuts that you made there and the work we did.
And I got 2 things for you here. Number one, if we use the post June 1st designations like I suggested, I was already at 37 million. And number 2, how are you just going to take a shot at poor $660,000 a year Tom Kennedy?
because, man, I've had to hear about Tom Kennedy for how many years now? I mean, this is what the Lions do. We always joke about on the show. Oh, Andre Fluellen on speed dial. All these guys that they just fall in love with and keep them on the practice squad. They keep them around Allen Park headquarters to fill up Gatorade bottles and be tackling dummies. And it's like, if you don't ever make a play or ever do anything of substance, you gots to go. And I got to get rid of you. And like I say, I hear he's a tremendous lacrosse player. I mean, he probably does some other sports other than football. Good luck to you, but he's got to go. I got to clear the roster spot. I got to try to find somebody with talent. I don't know, maybe find a 7th, 6th rounder, or hey, here's an idea, Lions. How about an undrafted player for once that actually can play some football?
Fair enough. It just really got me when you.
If he's not Wes
really
Welker, I don't want you.
Fair enough. Oh,
so
it really tickled my fancy when you just really went on a little Tom Kennedy rant there for a second.
Oh yeah. I mean, I gotta bring the heat. I mean, no one is safe here on the Detroit Koolaid Cast. I mean, we serve it up. Both we'll fill up your glass, you know what I'm saying?
Drink it in, man.
But I might have to talk trash about that ass as well. So that might be the new slogan of the show for all I know. But oh man, we are talking free agency all the time here on this show. I think I need a breather right now. We got so much good stuff to get to on the back half of the show. Like I said, I want to dive into kind of where the Lions could pick those free agents, but also like where the draft might be heavy. We got some names we want to throw out, positions that we want people to listen to, no doubt about it. And we talk all about free agency after the break. So, Aaron, I don't think I gave you like proper opportunity last time. Do you want to get in here with the cheap plug, maybe where they can find you on Twitter, Facebook, what all these projects you got going? I mean, you're dropping knowledge today, and I haven't had to beat you up too much yet. It's early. So you want to get anything in here before the break?
Yeah, I'll throw out the Twitter handle. It's at AB Couch Coach. That's primarily where I do all my football talking and all that, and go back and forth with people on stuff. So that's the main concern. I'm trying to shift over more into talking a lot more football because that's my thing.
Hey, Couch Coach, where you been? You feel like you barely duck in on Twitter. I mean, I see you here and there. You obviously support the show. You got to bring some of this heat that you're bringing here on the show on the old Twitter machine there. You got to drop some hashtags. We got to get you like, Holmes dropping one prides everywhere. I mean, gosh, you know Benny Blade's been known to drop a one pride here again.
One pride.
Exactly, Benny. I mean, we got to get you more tweeting out more stuff, man. Come on, step your game up.
I need to for sure. I constantly see you tweet and stuff, and I'm like, I got to do this more. But I'm like a silent, scary observer. I'm like that dude in the corner of the room just taking notes. I observe, and I need to post more. I will admit that, but and that's the plan. I plan to start posting more on there and tweeting and getting some real hot takes.
Hey, you're sending me the mock drafts. You got to get those out there so everybody can hate your mock drafts. Like, I get all this pushback. One guy's like, I don't know why you post mock drafts. I go, well, then don't read it. Right. People like mock drafts. I don't know what this guy's problem was, but he just acted like it was wrong to post it. It was like, well, don't look, or why waste a reply saying you don't like it? Like, who cares? So a bunch of people, I love putting those out Mondays and Fridays. Monday at Derek Okrie on Twitter, DEREK OKRIE. Mondays I put out my straight up mock. Fridays we're doing a mock, and we're doing some trades, baby. We're wheeling and dealing, just like I think Brad Holmes will do. So can't wait for all that. Aaron, we're going to get our sponsors in here. I mean, we got Anchor Podcast. You're going to hear about my Believe in Lions show. And I didn't plug this earlier, and I meant to. You guys got to check out this Thursday on the Believe Podcast Network. That's spelled BLEAV, Believe in Lions, with myself and Benny Blades. I'm going to be talking to Benny Blades, the former Lions legendary safety, about what was it like to be a player heading into free agency. I know he went to a couple different teams at the back half of his career. I'm going to ask him about what was it like dealing with the Lions when his contract was up, and how all that worked. We're going to get some great insight stories and insight from Benny, so I can't wait to do that. That's going to drop Thursday mornings on your favorite podcast platform, so check that out. Listen to the promo. Go check out Anchor Podcast, no doubt about it. And Aaron, when we come back, man, we're talking all things free agency. Get into it. It's been a good show so far. Let's keep this thing rolling. What's going on, everybody? This is your host, Derek Oakrey of the Detroit Koolaid Cast, and this is normally where I tell you about some of our great sponsors, but today I want to tell you about my other Lions podcast. It's called Believe in Lions, and that's spelled BLEAV on the Believe Podcasting Network with both myself and Lions legendary safety Benny Blades. Yeah, you know who he is, the hard-hitting safety Benny Blades. Played for the Lions. He also played for the you know what it is, the University of Miami, those Miami Hurricanes. He mentions it multiple times a show. Benny loves to talk about his Hurricanes, his Lions, and I love to play this soundbite on the show. We have a ton of fun on that show. We laugh, we joke, we talk Lions. Like I said, he brings up the Hurricanes. I talk about my Michigan Wolverines. It's a really fun show. Benny loves the Lions. He tells great stories from his playing days, as well as we're just rooting on this team. We BLEAV in the Lions. So please go ahead, find it on your favorite podcast platform. Hit that subscribe button and check it out. Share it with a friend. We really appreciate it. So check out Believe, BLEAV in Lions with myself and Benny Blades. Thank you guys so much. Detroit Kool-Aid drinkers, thank you so much for listening to the show. We are back from the break. Thank you so much for listening to our sponsors. And thank you so much for filling up that glass, that red solo glass of Detroit Kool-Aid.
Drink it in, man.
You got to have a couple sides of cornbread.
Cornbread!
Exactly. So let's go ahead and get into the back half of the show. And I wanted to talk to Aaron about, I don't want to get too much into the draft because we're still 2 months away. But people, we're only 2 months away from the NFL draft, my favorite sporting event of the year. But free agency comes first. And like right now, like I said, Dan Campbell, Dan freaking Campbell.
We're going to bite a kneecap off. We're going to smile at you. We're going to take your other kneecap. We're going to smile at you. And when we do, we're going to take another hunk out of you. We're going to be the last one standing. All right. That's going to be the mentality.
That Dan Campbell stepped to the podium this week, just recently before we got recording, him and Brad Holmes. I don't know if this was their pre-free agency presser or they just felt like they wanted to meet with the media or what they were doing, but they stepped up. And there's some decisions that got to be made. There's some cuts. We obviously just made some cuts. You're going to hear about some Lions cuts, I think, either before you listen to the show, after. And the franchise tag, I think this is the last week. There's a 2-week window. So last week and then through this week. And we will see what they do with Kenny Golladay. Will they tag him? Will they just let him walk? Will they tag and trade him? Aaron, where are you at on that topic? What do you think the Lions will do before they actually make the move? This is where you got to have a hot take. This is where you got to call it before it happens.
It just seems like anymore. Every time you say Kenny Golladay, it's like a trigger word for me now. Every time you say it, my heart flickers because I'm all nervous. But
I had you going earlier in the show, but that was just a little fun thing for the people. We had to talk. We're going to talk some fantasy football on the show, people. I mean, just wait till I start beating that tail of Aaron in our league and bringing home championships like I did in the inaugural Detroit Koolaid Cast League for all the great listeners of the show. I mean, I'm going to talk some fantasy football, but yeah, Kenny hasn't been decided on except for that league. What do you think, or what would you do with number 19?
Personally, I don't like the idea of the franchise tag. It's too costly. They don't have a lot of cap space to work with. So if it's me, I'm going to try to ink them to like a 4-year, $80 million deal, make like $20 million of it a signing bonus, maybe work in another $5 million this year, and then spread the remainder over the next few years. That way they can still make some moves this year and not just be completely spent with Kenny. That would basically make it like a $10 million cap hit.
That's interesting. I mean, I guess my thing is his age, the team kind of flipping over. Like, is he that? I think Brad Holmes definitely called him a number one, or, Dan freaking Campbell had some really good things to say about him as well. So I think they like him a lot. I feel like they tipped their hand sort of saying they're going to try to do what's best for the team and for Kenny Golladay, which in my opinion, that's give him the tag, which jumps him from like $1 million that he makes now up to 17. And then explore trades, especially do the old Matt Stafford, talk to Kenny, where would you like to play? Maybe who would you like to play with? Engage those teams. If you can send him somewhere he likes and they can sign him to a lucrative deal and the Lions can get back draft capital, that seems to help both sides. And the reason I like that option, like you said, I get the money portion where he's going to be that big tag number, but at the end of the day, it's a 1-year deal at basically less than he'd probably get on the open market for some situations. So you just stuck with him. Well, I don't want to say stuck with him because he's been really good as a Detroit Lion. He's a really good guy off the field, and as long as he wants to be here and can help Jared Goff and company, I think that even if he's here and you can't move him, it's not the end of the world. I'm sure they could move money around. I mean, we just made $37 million. I mean, signing Kenny, we still got a little bit to play with, and we're not trying to sign a bunch of people in free agency anyway. So that'd be the way I'd approach it. I've said it before. I'll say it again. But time's a ticking. We will see what they do. So I'm really interested in it.
Well, see, I like your idea to the extent of if you're gonna sign him to, if you're gonna franchise tag him and then you're gonna trade him, preferably at the trade deadline. That way, if he goes to a needy team that's willing to kind of overpay and pay in draft capital for him. But I don't know about the whole like treat him like you did Stafford and ask him who he wants to play for thing, because quite honestly, in my opinion, KG hasn't been here long enough to really justify going that route. I would rather just be like, if the Jags want him, the Jags can have him as long as they're willing to give us a first next year.
Yeah, but here's the thing. I'm not talking about in season. I feel like if you tag and trade, that's happening before the draft this year. I feel like that's tag him now. Lock him up to that money and then put him out there to all these teams, because Kenny, what does he care? He just wants to play somewhere and get paid. So it's like you just put him out there now and you try to get some draft capital here this year, whether it be a third and a fifth or whatever. It beefs up our capital. It sends him off, and then it's another player that we did right. And like you say, we can make our receivers work. That was something else that Dan freaking Campbell and Holmes said as well. It's like, hey, Brad Holmes said, hey, we didn't have very good receivers in L.A., and then we turned that over real quick, and then we had 3 real good ones all of a sudden. So it can be done. I think that's the approach I'd be taking in that situation, is trying to get Kenny paid, trying to get draft capital, and trying to move this thing forward as quickly and as efficiently as they did number 9 there. It's not like we owe it to them. It's just sort of like, hey, we can help everybody out in the situation and do it now, not saying play 8 games for us and then we'll move you type of thing. So we'll see what they do. I'm really curious. I think it could go any of the ways. I could easily say them too. Just we hear crickets, as we often hear on the show. I mean, I know I got that sound bit somewhere. I mean, it could come a few days before the deadline. You might just hear this. It might be this on the Kenny Golladay front. Just hello, anybody out there? Hello. That might be Kenny out in the woods saying like, hey, I thought you guys were going to franchise tag me. Oh, no, I'm just going to have to go out and try to find my own money now. Okay. That might not be 17 mil when it's all said and done. But like, I didn't even mean to get on Kenny Golladay this much. I just meant to ask a question, but it's going to be a big decision for the Detroit Lions. So Aaron, let's talk about that mix between free agency and the draft without getting into too much draft talk. And we talked about your philosophy. Are there some positions or just some sneaky moves positionally that you would be looking for? Like, man, I can get this type of player or this type of position in free agency, freeing me up to be more flexible in the draft.
I like the idea of maybe picking up a couple of semi-cheap wide receivers if Golladay were to walk. And I also like the idea of picking up some free agent corners as opposed to, I would rather get semi-young corners that we can get off the free agent pile, like maybe ones that were projected to do great and then they didn't do so hot and everybody's thinking, okay, well, time for them to go. Bring them in here on maybe, a 1 to 3 year deal type thing and put them under this coaching staff. Because I think this is the coaching staff where if somebody was miscoached at corner or safety, this is the coaching staff that they'd probably want to go to in order to actually get better.
Yeah, I'm right there with you on that one. I guess, like, if we're talking general positions, which again, it always comes down to all about the player, both in free agency and the draft for me. But, you do have to look at positions of need as well as where are we heavy. So in my opinion, in free agency, You can sometimes find like that sneaky veteran mid-career running back or tight end. Those are spots that I don't feel are that heavy in this draft. I mean, yeah, there's some running backs later, like in the 4th, 5th round that might be interesting, but I bet you could find a nice vet too that could help out with DeAndre Swift, help him come along, be good, tight end, as well as I like your idea about cornerbacks. I feel like the Lions have 2 young pups, but it'd really be nice to get a couple of vets that, hey, maybe they just want that second or third contract. They're willing to kind of play that depth role. They're willing to bring these guys along. And same with the D line and even maybe a veteran safety that's better than Duron Harmon ended up being. I mean, I had high hopes for Duron Harmon. He made a couple plays early, and then, man, did he let me down. I remember him getting toasted, roasted, and extra crispy a few times, and it was like, man, this guy can't play. I don't know what to tell you. Like, we gave up a 5th rounder, I think, for him, and like say, he's probably not going to be on this roster moving forward. So, like, I like all those positions you mentioned, as well as some on the offensive side of the ball, even like an interior guard that has some experience that might just plug in there on the right side, and then you don't have to worry about it. I think the Lions can be really strategic of kind of plugging, 3-4 holes really well, not spending a ton of money, and then really opening themselves up for the draft.
I agree. And I'd rather have them trade back and acquire more draft capital and then have the money there to pay for those new contracts that they get from the draft. Personally, I don't like the idea. I've heard a lot of people saying, oh, go out and get, Hassan Reddick, or go out and, all these really big name guys. And it's like, all right, yeah, but then you can't pay people with sticks of gum. You know what I mean? You got to,
Exactly.
These people are expecting some good money. It's that we can't run out and grab Von Miller and Melvin Ingram and Leonard Williams and just bring everybody here. It's not how it works.
I did hear the name Melvin Ingram recently, and I think it was either PFF or some organization was placing guys, and I was like, man, I've always liked Melvin Ingram as a player, and if he'd come here for, like you said, we just made a bunch of those cuts. Let's say we could get him for 8 to 10 on like a 2-year. To me, he's like he'd be a nice impact piece on defense. But I'm right there with you. Like, I'm totally going into this year with no expectations of like, we got to have this guy, we got to have that guy, got to spend this, we got to get these filled. It's kind of like, for me, I just like to see some really strategical moves, guys that have some upside, younger players, people with juice, people that can do special things, and just see if they work out here in Detroit rather than going and getting the vet that's over the hill. Or, some people get so stuck like on Twitter and whatnot of like, we got to get a linebacker, it's just like, but if there's not any good linebackers in free agency, I'm not just going to go get one to get one. I'm going to go look at other avenues to acquire, whether it's trade, draft, whatever it may be. So the Lions just have to be smart, get good guys for their big plan, which isn't always about right now. And that's what free agency is for most teams. We got to do this right now. We got to get this right now. We got to get it over the hump right now. The Lions aren't there in any of those situations. So they can just go in free and clear, and we'll see what they do.
For sure. And if I hear another person say the name Todd Gurley to me, I'm going to throw up. I want to throw that out there because it's not going to happen, people. Let it go. Like, some people get so unrealistic about some of the stuff, and it's like, that's not going to happen. Just stop. Honestly, just stop. It's not happening.
A player that cost me last year in fantasy in the league we've been talking about, a guy that I still thought had a little juice, was going to play well in Atlanta, but he did make me very happy when I was in the ATL at the stadium and I got to see Todd Gurley fall in the end zone on one of the dumbest plays I've ever seen in the game of football. Hey, Pac-Man, what'd you think about that play by Todd Gurley?
It was a bad decision. Period, point blank. It was one of the dumbest decisions I ever made.
Oh, I agree, Pac-Man. That was just as bad as you being in the script club. Oh my goodness! But that Todd Gurley is done. I think I can agree with you on that. And like you say, that's not a type of player the Lions need. All right, let's do this. We made you the GM a couple times. Let's put you back in the GM seat. I know you got some names. I got a few names here of people that I think I'd like. Now, again, we're not going to break it down and just take random guesses of who the Lions like up, down, and left and sideways. But let's give some people some names to consider, maybe some fits that might work in our humble opinion, and go from there. So give the people a few names, positions that you got.
Well, I'm going to start right out with a very, very unpopular opinion. And I know there's going to be people that are like, this is such a stupid idea. Why would you even say that? But the first thing I'm going to say is let's bring back Jared Davis on like a 1-year prove it deal. Just because he's not going to cost any money. Nobody wants Jared Davis. He's been an absolute fire, as Matt Derry would say. So let's bring him back and give him a new coaching staff and see what he can do. Because I honestly think, I mean, he was a high pick for a reason. I think the skill is potentially there, but we might as well be the ones to find out with a better coaching staff that don't run around with pencils in their ears and pretend that they know everything.
You know what the coaches need to do with Jared Davis is just get him focused. I mean, the guy's a hard worker. The guy has athletic talent and skill. Let's just take some of the thinking out. So I think Aaron Glenn might just need to go up to Jared Davis and say this.
Know your role and shut your mouth.
And go make the tackle. Go crush someone and stop thinking so damn much. I'm with you. Let's bring back Jared Davis. I like it.
So another one I got for you, and in this one, I'm sure some people would be on board. Some people might not even really. Some people probably don't think this guy can do anything because he just kind of sat the bench the past couple of years. Curtis Samuel. I say we bring Curtis Samuel in on like a 3-year deal. That he's so fast. He's such a baller. He's so good. Curtis Samuel is way better than he was ever given credit for in Carolina. And it just blows my mind that he's going to be a free agent because I think that's a contract that anybody should jump on. He's going to be cheap because he didn't get a lot of playing time. He served as more of a wide receiver 3, but I honestly think he has the skill set to be a wide receiver 1, especially if Galladay's gone.
I like Curtis Samuel as a player. I like that target. There's one thing I don't like about him though, Aaron. You want to know what that is?
Let's hear it.
It might be the school he went to.
Hey, listen, Ohio State sucks.
Classic Jim Rome bit that I think that was Lendale White, everybody, and some crazy reporter with one of the funnier laughs that I've ever heard. Almost as good as this laugh.
Everybody's in.
Oh, my goodness. Fun with the soundboard. Hey, let me jump in here with a couple names. I like the names you threw out. Jared Davis, Curtis Samuel. I like it. This is a name that I've heard kind of actually projected to the Lions. It's somebody that in my years, the last, I don't even know how many years we've been doing it, where we actually make the picks on the clock. This was a guy I took years ago for the Lions. He's balled out everywhere he's been. His name is Desmond King. Safety, cornerback, slot, played out with the Chargers, then was traded to the Titans, I believe, played there. Still young, very versatile piece. I would love to see them go decently, a decent contract on a guy like Desmond King who can bring, everything that some of these other guys that we cut here early in the show can bring, plus a lot more. Just a good guy, good football player across the board. I'd love to see Desmond King with a Detroit Lions uniform. And then you hit on receiver, linebacker. I mean, I'm just really focused for some reason on finding that compliment for Swift. And I was on this show and on Believe in Lions with Benny Blades often saying this, Adrian Peterson, when he was balling out, and then towards the end of the year it turned into Adrian. So I think he's done. I feel like Adrian Peterson's a guy that, he might go play somewhere, and he might say he wants to be in Detroit. He's got some financial issues going on, but I feel like they just need to find that sweet spot for a running back. And running backs don't get paid in the NFL. So Logan Lamorandier from Sports Illustrated was on this show, and he hit me with a name that I was like, man, I wanted him actually a couple years ago. He went to Chicago. He didn't play that well. Then he went down to the Panthers, played really well when there was an injury. Mike Davis, to me, is a guy that feels like a Detroit guy to me, and somebody that could come in and make some plays. So he intrigues me as kind of like that guy. He's not going to want to be the top guy. He does some things well, though, both passing, catching, and running, and doing some different things. And then I wrote a mystery name down at running back, too. I want to see if this guy gets any money or gets any respect in the league. Marlon Mack has fallen off the map. He feels like he's just going to be out of Indy. Everybody acts like he's a horrible football player. When this guy gets the football, he's put up good numbers, and he's just one of those guys. Can he stay healthy? So I don't know that he fits what the Lions are doing, but let's say Brad Holmes likes him some Marlon Mack. Could you get him in here on a decent deal and get that two-person punch in the backfield? That'd be interesting to me.
See, the two names you just named are the only two names that I've actually been interested at running back in free agency, because I think both of them, the talent's there for sure. Like you said, with Marlon Mack, you got to worry about the injury concerns. Mike Davis just kind of being a journeyman, but the dude is good. He filled in for McCaffrey and tore it up quite a bit. And Marlon Mack, it's just like they brought in Jonathan Taylor, and I thought, they got a nice 1-2 punch now. And it was just kind of like, nah, Marlon Mack's not our 1-2 punch. So he's gone. And I think either one of those guys, if you can get them for the right price in free agency, I think it's a really good compliment to Swift. I want Swift to still get a decent amount of the workload, but it's a nice change of pace back for sure.
Exactly. They're going to have to find that mix with Swift, but also don't baby him. Get him the football. So that's funny, everybody. We don't talk about this stuff before the show. We hit that record button, and whatever happens, happens. So me and Aaron had not talked about that. We had the two same names at RB, and I also like the names he threw out, both at linebacker and wide receiver. So, Aaron, let's hit the people with a couple other quick ones, some other names just to think about. So who else you got?
So, all right, I'll throw out Alex Anzalone to replace Christian Jones at linebacker, because if we try to replace all of our linebackers out of the draft, we're going to have to spend every one of our draft picks on linebackers because they all suck. So getting rid of all those guys, I'd say bring in Alex Anzalone on like a 1-year, $2 million deal. I think he's got some juice left. I think he could be a good presence on that defense. And it's kind of like a 1-year prove it deal, bring him in and let him just kind of ball out. I know everybody's going to be irritated because he's got the New England ties, and we thought we were done with New England ties, but is what it is. I think he's got more.
I don't want Arthur to beat you up. So there's a couple things. I know the player you're talking about, and it's Anzalone. So Alex Anzalone. I don't know why I said it like Italian just a minute ago, but Anzalone is how it's said. So we don't want Arthur to kill you on that. And this is I'm pretty sure he's been with the Saints his whole career. I don't know that he has New England ties. So. But he is a Fabio Dan Campbell looking linebacker that they would be able to share the same hairstylist back in the day. And like I said, I kind of like him as a player as well, a little bit under the radar, kind of one of those meat and potatoes guys. And I know that we're going to see some Rams, some Saints, some guys from Philly, some of these players. It was even mentioned in their press conferences that, if those guys are fits or they know something about them, you're going to see those guys with Lions uniforms. I just hope it doesn't get out of hand. So Alex Anzalone, I wouldn't mind it. Maybe he's got something in the tank. Maybe, Campbell knows something that we don't. So I like that. I just had to fix you up there before Twitter gets after you at AB Couch Coach.
Maybe I was thinking of a different guy when I was jotting this down and taking my notes and doing my research. But I mean, I could have sworn the guy had New England ties. I guess I'm wrong there.
I don't think so. I mean, I know he's definitely been down in New Orleans, and I think that's where he got picked up originally. But like I said, I could be wrong as well. It has happened on the show, very rarely, but from time to time. So who else you got?
Give me Jordan Lewis to replace Desmond Trufant.
Okay, little Michigan homer move there.
Yep, played for Michigan. And again, like I said, a lot of the guys that I'm bringing in.
Go ahead. I just got to give you the music, too.
It startled me. Yeah, it just completely wasn't expecting that. I'm like, something's going on.
You got to be ready for the soundboard. What are you, some rookie on the show? It's your second time. I'm dropping bombs from the soundboard. That's why people listen to this great show.
Got it. Just working my way in. I just completely threw me off guard. He's got the Michigan ties. I think he's a good replacement for Desmond Trufant as soon as we get him out of here. And like I said, I think we're going to be doing a lot of 1-year deals just to get bodies in here while we're working to, use some draft capital next year.
Right, interesting. A couple other names I had. Again, these aren't digging the bottom of the barrel, but names people have probably heard about. I mean, I really like Josh Reynolds as a receiver option. Guy's rate about ready to kind of be in the prime of his career. He's never really been in an opportunity to get the football. He's coming from LA there. He's going to want to be a more integral piece. He come here and easily be a number 2, in my opinion. 3 at worst, and as everybody knows, we need bodies at the receiver position, so that's somebody I wrote down. I got Romeo Okwara on my list. I mean, I feel like this is a guy that everybody has written out of town. His brother plays here. I don't see Romeo Okwara going out on the free agent market and getting bonanza bucks. I feel like he'd go out there and get a marginal market of a decent young pass rusher, but the guy's 24, 25 years old. He's had 2 out of 3 good seasons here with the Lions. He finally looks like he's turned it on into be a kind of a pass rush specialist, and the Lions coaches have already said, we're going to cut him loose and let him rush the passer instead of, hey, play tough on the edge, hold the edge, play good run defense. No, let this guy come in on 3rd down and kill quarterbacks. So I wouldn't mind him coming back based on price tag. And as you said earlier, we don't have unlimited funds. I get it. But we make all those cuts of the bums we talked about and give Romeo what he seems to deserve, especially at a nice age, at a premier position like defensive end, and let him go hunting. I'd be about it. So don't send this guy out of town right now, everybody. See what they do with him.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more there. He's actually number 2 on my list outside of bringing Golladay back, was bringing Okwara back, because I think there's a lot more juice left there. I think you could probably get him for $20 million over 3 years, and I think you could spread it nicely to where it doesn't really affect us all that much. Plus, he's brothers just naturally have that competitive side to him, and with his brother being here, I think you might even be able to get him at even cheaper than $20 million just to keep him here because his brother's here. You know what I mean? So I would like for them to bring him back quite a bit.
Here's the thing with this is my question to you, and I'll do it in sound bites. Is Julian Okwara this? Woo! Or this? I feel like in his rookie year he was definitely the latter, and I feel like in the future he could definitely be Rod Allen. Woo! Legendary Rod Allen, one of the greatest announcers of all time. I feel like this kid needs to really turn it on. You took him in the top of the 3rd round. He has pass rush ability. He had injuries, but even when he wasn't injured, I didn't see much of anything from this guy. And this was a guy that I said before that draft, you could maybe get him at a good value and team up with his brother. That's what Bob Quinn does. And now Bob Quinn's making me personally look bad, which I take offense to. Aside from all the bad moves he made in free agency and the draft, now he's making me look bad. He's putting my GM name on blast. I'm not a fan of that. So Julian Okwara, step your game up. I know I got that sound bite somewhere, but I can't find it right now. And let's get your brother back here, and let's attack quarterbacks. Let's play some defense. Let's cut him loose like an outside pass rusher instead of whatever he was doing last season. Brutal.
Yeah, and I think he'll definitely be. I'm not going to try to do the soundbite, but I think he'll definitely step it up for sure in year 2. I think he'll step it up quite a bit. And I think he had completely wrong coaching staff. You know what I mean? That's a lot of it has to do with coaching staff. You can't bring a young guy into immediately get screamed at you know what I mean? It doesn't work. It's like screaming at a 3-year-old for not hitting the ball off the tee. It just doesn't make sense to him. It's completely different no matter what position you're in. Some positions are harder than others, but he'll definitely step it up for sure. Jeff Okudah also wasn't too hot in year 1, and I expect him to step it up too.
Yeah, he's got to. I mean, I think that's the big thing. Well, you know me. I drink that Detroit Koolaid. I try to be positive on this team, try to pump up the fan base. But, it's come to bite me a few times where I'm overly optimistic on these guys that after a couple years you just see can't play for whatever reason or are always hurt. I don't want Okwara or Okudah or Tracy or A.O. I mean, baby. Oh, baby. I don't want him or those guys to fall into that category, but got to show me something. I saw nothing from Julian. Obviously, we saw nothing from Cornell. We saw nothing from some of these other players that we've taken highly. You can't have the number 3 pick be like the 118th best corner in football. We just can't have that. So these guys better bounce back and bounce back quick. And that's what could really propel this team, because I think a lot of people are just looking at saying we got no talent, we know nothing. What if Julian Okwara plays like he did in college? What if Jeff Okudah plays 80% like he did at Ohio State, where he just locks up people and nobody can beat him deep and he's just a shutdown corner? Things could turn around quickly if guys like that and some of these other young pups turn into what they should, and the replacements that we made earlier turn out to be what we hope, which is like, hey, we get rid of Justin Coleman and we get a slot that can actually cover people and can tackle. Like, that'd be nice. You know what I mean? I think that's where the team could improve, is have a couple young guys come along, as well as a couple minuses turn into big-time pluses.
Yeah. And again, I hate to keep saying that I agree with you, but I agree with you there. It's a big part of it has to be that a lot of people need to step it up, because obviously we can't cut 52 names off of a list. You know what I mean? It's not possible. So there's a few names that it's like, yeah, you're going to stay, but if you don't step it up, as much as I talk a few of them up now, we might be back a year later where they're getting the same bye treatment that I was giving out earlier.
Yeah, well, it'll be really interesting to see what they do. Any other names you want to throw out? Those are kind of just some of the basic ones. I didn't mention Corey Davis, but I know a lot of people have heard of him. A lot of homers here in Michigan. Oh, he went to Western. Let's bring him back. Like, Corey Davis had a lot of draft pedigree. He hasn't really performed. He showed some glimpses last year, but this is not a guy that I would be paying, 12 to 15 million bucks a year to come be my number one. But if he wanted to come back here and be a piece of the puzzle at a decent number, I'd consider it. So those are kind of the main names I put just on the surface here. We'll get into it more as we get going. Was there anybody else you wanted to throw out there before we close up the show here?
Not really. Just because they can't really afford to. I mean, there's some names that I can throw out there that might generate a couple of clicks or get people excited, but at the end of the day, I don't think they're moves that they're going to make. I mean, the most exciting would be to maybe bring Everson Griffin back for another year just to see. But I mean, outside of that, I would honestly prefer if they just kind of remained neutral, picking up some cheaper names that can fill a couple of spots so we can build over the course of the year. I mean, there's a reason that the majority of the staff got a bunch of 6-year contracts. So I'm not looking to go from worst to first this year. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, they got to build it right. I'm right there with you. So let's just say this. We're going to kind of talk about this, but we're going to go ahead and close up the Koolaid Cast for this week. But here's my word of the day for what the Detroit Lions needs to do. And it's the word prudent. Prudent, I believe is how it's spelled. I'm not a spelling whiz, but that sounds about right. You got to be prudent, and that means you got to be strategic. You got to be smart. You got to be a little bit cautious when it comes to what they do with their dollars and cents, their team building. Is it really time to take a couple swings? Is it not? But here's the catch-22 also. Lions fans, we do not want to go into 2021 and see horrible football, especially on defense. We don't want to see guys on the offensive side of the ball that we're hanging our hat on not be able to produce or be focused on because we don't have any other weapons around them. So I think Brad Holmes and company, their biggest thing is going to be, how do you be prudent and how do you put a pretty exciting, fun to watch product on the field? And in my opinion, you do that through the draft, which they continue to say. You do that with young talent. You do that with guys that maybe haven't shown it yet, but they're hard workers. They have grit. They have football character. Those are other buzzwords you're hearing a lot from the Allen Park headquarters. You need guys that want to win, care about winning, care about teammates, have talent, have special skills, whether it be speed, athleticism, just a nose for the football. That's where I'm at, Aaron, is they need to be prudent, and they also need to find some of that excitement factor, even if it's just the way they play. We want to see juice. We want to see emotion. We want to see fun football on offense and defense. And whatever comes when it comes to wins and losses is fine, as long as we see the building blocks being put in place. So the draft, free agency will be important to see good players, but it's not going to make or break when it comes to, 2021, we got to do this, that, or the other. But we do need to see some other things so we do not go through a third or fourth season here in a row of just really poor football on both sides.
734%. Go out there and play like you got a chip on your shoulder. That's what I want to see. Go out there and act like you're the best. Even if you're not necessarily doing everything right, go out there and play like you've got the intention to do absolutely everything right. Because eventually, if you think you're the best and you work like you're the best and you're working to be the best, eventually you could be the best. I mean, some of these people on our team currently that are hopefully gone, that might not apply to, but some of these younger names I'm actually excited about.
Exactly, and I'm not conceding W's. I'm trying to see what they do each step of the way, trying to be positive, trying to get behind this new regime, and I think Campbell, Deuce, Aaron Glenn, and company are going to have this team ready to rock and roll and know that the talent isn't with the upper echelon teams. You're telling me there isn't a reason that we can't deal with Chicago? You're telling me we can't get after Kirk Cousins and the Vikings twice a year? You're telling me we can't beat some of these lower end teams on our schedule? Yeah, we can compete every Sunday at whatever level, but like you said, chip on the shoulder, juice, excitement, young fresh players, guys that we can say, man, that guy's going to be a beast in like 2 years. Just let him get seasoned and let's get some people around him. So, Aaron, your second time on the show, I think you tore it up. I had a bunch of fun talking free agency with you. Before we know it, we're going to be knee deep in free agency and see what the Lions actually do, and then we'll be even closer to the draft probably the next time we have you on. So, man, so much to talk about with the Lions. I appreciate you coming on. Let me pour you one more glass before you get up out of here.
Drink it in, man.
Appreciate you having me, man. I love being on, and more than happy to come on anytime you need me.
You can find Aaron on Twitter at the AB Couch Coach. He'll be serving up Detroit Koolaid all day, every day, as well as we're going to have Logan Lamorandier back on. My guy Joey. We got all types of things going on here with the Koolaid Cast. Excited for the Lions, rebuilding this team, new players, new moxie, new excitement, 2021 and beyond. Everybody, drink that Detroit Kool-Aid. We'll catch you later right here on the Detroit Koolaid Cast. Take care, everybody. We're out.
Pack the bag, start the plane. This game is over. It is over. What a comeback by the Lions.
Drink it in, man.